There are a lot of options for LHA, is there not? Jesus. If you're interested in taking your Workbench 1.3 setup from looking like this to looking like this, then this is the guide video for you, because I'm going to show you how to do this. Greetings and welcome to a rare return of the You're Not Stupid guide. Now, ever since I got a hard drive for my computer 10 years ago, I've been on a quite a long quest to make the icons, the whole thing, look as good as possible in Workbench 1.3. And more specifically with medium resolution, 640 by 200 in NTSC, 640 by 256 in PAL mode. The default original medium resolution. Now for Workbench 2.01 and above users, there's plenty of options, including Magic Workbench, new icons. You know, there's a lot of stuff for users of the newer operating systems. But for good old Kickstart 1.3 and below, Workbench 1.3 and below, you know, there's not much out there besides, you know, 4-color stuff. Just the original stuff that people happened to make back in the day. It's not even all that many collections of those kinds of icons. If you did like it, but I think 4 colors is, you're really limiting yourself. And even Workbench 1.3, it can go into 8-color mode, and it can use those Magic Workbench style icons, which we are going to show you how to do that today. Now, I'm not actually using Magic Workbench in any way. Magic Workbench is I think to this day, is a shareware release. And I believe the shareware release of Magic Workbench is rather crippled in nature, because every icon has, you know, 2 states to it. So the first state looks fine with the with the demoed version of Magic Workbench, but the second state goes unregistered Magic Workbench. It's very obnoxious in its style. So the benefit of Magic Workbench is that it would actually install these 8-color icons itself, versus in my method, you're going to have to do it manually. But I'm going to show you how to do it every step of the way. This is a power user kind of a course. It's not meant for, you know, floppy drive users. And while this is meant for Workbench 1.3 users, it's most impressive that way. It is by no means exclusive to 1.3, as you can see here under Workbench 2.01, running fine. Everything I have in this package can run just fine in the later operating systems. It's just most impressive, you know, with a 1.3 setup, so that's what I'm focusing on. So these last 10 years I've been collecting lots of icons and programs to use with these icons. I have archived them all for you, and you can check the description if you want to download these yourself. You're not getting my entire hard drive collection. You will have to do some work yourself. It's the You're Not Stupid guide. You're not stupid. You can do this stuff yourself. There's going to be multiple ways that you can get this collection. You know, you want to go Amiga all the way. There's LZX and LHA, and there's zip as well if you just want to insert it into an emulator. It's all there. Before we finally get to the guide here, just want to say that, you know, this is all, you know, free for all you wonderful Amiga users out there. I would love for you guys to share some pics of any of this setup if you choose to use it yourself. You know, at Shot97Retro on Twitter. But for the YouTube people, please keep in mind that this has been 10 years worth of collection. I've done lots of work on this, and I put this all together. You know, it's been a labor of love for me. So I would appreciate if, you know, the YouTubers kept in mind the spirit of what the original people. I didn't write, you know, these icons myself. I manipulated some of them, modified some of them, you know, but the work I put in is collecting them and, you know, finding the programs that work best with them and presenting them all to you. That's my part of this. But the original people, you know, it's all in there. It's all freeware, except please do not use this to make money. So, you know, you got the Patreon going, you got ads on those videos. You know, please, that is not in the spirit of this collection. I did not put in this time for you to make money. That's as simple as I can put it. So there's nothing else like this online on YouTube. I will know if you'd make a video like this. So If you want to just point your audience my way, you know, thank you. I'd appreciate that. And that's all I have to say about that for now. Let's get to the guide, shall we? So firstly, we're going to assume that you are a Workbench 1.3 user with a hard drive. Be it emulation or the real thing, you are on good old-fashioned blue. Now, I am currently running off of a floppy disk, and that's just to simply go back to the beginning to show all of you, but of course I do have a hard drive. Assume that your hard drive, you know, looks like the floppy still, and that is where we are coming at this from. So using a file management utility such as a disk master here, I've given you the option of downloading my collection in several formats: LHA, LZX, and zip. Zip would be the most compatible with modern devices, so if you're just going to send it to your emulator, maybe you want to do zip. Zip is also the largest of the archives at 0.81 megabytes. LHA, the second largest, at 0.73 megabytes, and LZX is the smallest at 0.58 megabytes. All these files can be uncrunched on the Amiga itself via shell commands or through disk utilities such as diskmaster here or directory opus. Right here we can say LZX to destination, and that will uncrunch the LZX version to our RAM disk here. And after a couple minutes, everything will have been completed. Now, if you're not quite up to this level of power using quite yet, I'm going to delete this and show you another way. So the easiest way to go about this, if you're not already a power user, you're just a budding power user, is to go to AmigaNet and download the file LHA. That's exactly what it's called. Just LHA, search that up on AmigaNet, and this is a shell command. You can run it in the shell, just say LHA, 8-color LHA.LHA, and it will unpack it in the shell itself. Or you can just copy that program using diskmaster, and if we just double-click this, it'll extract it right there if it's in the same directory. And just for one more example, we will use the shell. Good old shell. Here we'll change it to RAM, where we have the file located, and pretty much I think it's just LHA 8-color LHA.LHA. I think that should do it right there. Oh no, I have to use the right syntax. Let's try this again. LHA E 8-color LHA.LHA, and there it goes. So, while technically a much more complicated method because you are inputting into the command line, this would be the easiest way because everything else involves, you know, getting a diskmaster or directory opus, etc. You know, but there are many options. There are even intuition-based programs which, you know, have a front end for, you know, various different types of archive files. That's their sole duty. So you don't just have to use, you know, directory opus or diskmaster or the shell. You know, there are many options. That is the point I'm getting at. Options are available. And the operation has been completed successfully in the command line, and it should be in our RAM disk, a folder called Icons. Now keep in mind, I have a very large RAM disk of 9 megabytes. The package itself is a little over a megabyte, you know, 5 megabytes or something like that, I don't know. So if your RAM will not fit this, then you should, you know, do all of this over on your hard drive, or get the floppy disk version that I have. And when you get this, I would recommend just floating it right over to your hard drive. Again, we already have it on our hard drive right here, but you don't, so, you know, take it from wherever it is, put it in the root directory. I would recommend. You can put it wherever you want, but for instructional sake, it will be easier if you put it in the root directory of DH0. Now, I have included a README and an example picture, but you will see that if you try to click on that, it will say you need powerpacker.library version 33 Plus. Now that is included on my actual hard drive, but since I loaded with a floppy disk, it's not there. But I'm going to put it there just so you guys can see. So in Workbench 1.3, we'll go to the Libs directory, and we will simply copy that over. And just like that, it should work now, I believe. And there we go. Right here we have a readme file available for you to read everything right on the Amiga if you choose. Instructions galore. I also have an example picture to show you what it will look like. Again, it goes right there into the 8-color setup there. Actually, it's technically 16 colors because I wanted to add, you know, the Shot 97 retro there, but I did that in a paint program there. So we have that. We also have a guide, an original guide from back in the day. I'm going to add a hidden directory in the icons folder and repack it all for you guys and call it Libs. And in Libs I'm going to include both of these libraries for you. And simply what you will do is enter diskmaster, directory opus, or copy it through a shell. And in the icons directory there will be a Libs directory. Go into your Workbench setup. This is probably not going to work on a floppy drive because there's not enough room for this one. This one will probably fit. And go to your Libs directory and you will copy these over, and everything should work fine there. So we're including this as well. Anyway, back to the video guide. Again, 4 colors is what we are currently at. Good old blue. All we have to do is double click this icon that says MagicWB, and it will switch it to an 8-color gray Workbench 2.01 and above setup, and we will hit palette again, and now you will see we now have 8 colors. And the original 4 colors have changed. This is the Workbench 2 look and beyond, and added to that is another extra 4 colors, and these are the Magic Workbench icon colors. And you will have noticed that our original, look for Workbench, it's inverted now. It doesn't look so good, but we can get that back to looking somewhat good if we want to. The icon tools. We have a bunch of icon tools. That's the first thing to look at. And the first program in the icon tools is a swap colors. This is meant for your old Workbench 1.3 icons to get them back to a more pleasing look. This is meant for 4 color icons, so all we have to do is you can just double click it. It will give you a little synopsis of what you need to do. So pretty much click that, hit shift, and then click on the thing you want to change. So we just changed this. I don't think this one will show up until we actually restart the computer. So now that I've restarted, you'll see, again, the main icons look good in blue, but our disk icon has now been inverted the other way and doesn't look good now. So again, we will hit the Magic Workbench here, and now you will see that icon looks more natural than it would have, prior. So we can do this to all of the icons. Again, see, now this is all black now instead of the white. All we have to do is click that program, shift, and click on the icons that we want to change. There's the clock. We want to swap the colors for that one. It should be as easy as that. We'll open up utilities again, and there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and do all of these just so you can get a look. And I will be back in a second. And as you see, we have made Workbench 1.3 more at home in this gray type of setup meant for Workbench 2 and above. So all of these icons have now been inverted to look more pleasing to your eyes in this setup, if that's all you want. But keep in mind, these are still 4 color icons. They just look better now. So if you have a particular icon that you you're fond of, and in my icon set you can't find anything you feel replaces it well, then you should use, you know, your swap color tool to take that original 1.3 look and, you know, invert the first two colors on it to make it look better in this gray setup. Now your next essential program in my collection is this ReplaceImage one. Again, you just double click it and it will tell you what you need to do right there. Now this is, once you've found an icon you like and you want to replace it with something, this is the program you use. So here in my icon folder we have icon files, a whole slew of them for you. Drawers, utilities, you know, everything you could possibly want. Just tons. You know, years worth of collection here for you. So here we see one labeled fonts. It's a nice little ABC. We're also going to go here and get the default drawer, just to get a couple of them for right now. And we're going to take those and we're going to put them in RAM here, just to get them out of the way. You see I've loaded up Workbench extras here, because Workbench just, the floppy disk just does not have the room at the moment. Hopefully extras, you know, can get me a couple little examples here just to show you what's going down. So here's the fonts one. Again, these are not real drawers. They look like drawers. You click on them and nothing will happen. They're not assigned a tool. They're just the icon files. So, but here we have a fonts directory. So how about we replace this with that one? So we just click that, hit Shift, click the image you want, and then click the image you no longer want, and hit OK. Now when we come back into extras, it should hopefully have a little, there we go. Our fonts directory has changed. Now this will open up even though, you know, you can't see what's inside of fonts because there's, you know, no icon files inside of that. But it's, you know, this one doesn't open, this one does open, so you're not replacing the tool when you go about this. Now for another example, now these are just normal drawers. How about we you know, replace that one with this one there. And you will see the default folder there has changed to this 8-color, much more pleasing look. Several icons to replace actual program applications if you so wish to do. So there's one for directory Opus. So here we have the program Amiga Explorer. Now I'm just showing you can use whatever you want. So here's a little tool thing. You know, Amiga Explorer is kind of a tool. So ReplaceImage, that one, and Amiga Explorer. Hit OK. And as you can see, Amiga Explorer's icon has changed. So this is just showing you how you can do it yourself. We have so many different options for you to choose from. Pick your category, look to your heart's content, and I'm sure you're going to find, you know, something that will make you happy. Utilities, a whole bunch of utilities there. So, you know, in the Workbench you have your say command, you have displays, you have the clocks, you can change those if you want. We have a second one, so if you want these ones instead, if there's a different clock icon, if you like that one better, you can choose that one. Tools, several for these. There's a nice calculator there, keyboard, printer. Again, a different variety of those same commands for the most part. You just hit Replace Image, click the one you want, click the one you don't want, and you will have everything taken care of. All these for the system. Format, a different shell version for you. Again, another one, smaller one if that's what you prefer. And devices, there you see my very own hard drive icon right there. You want a different version for your hard drive, you know, you find something for it. So here we have a different hard drive one. Maybe you want this one. Maybe you think that looks better than mine. Well, it's all up to you. Customize it how you desire. Here's a bunch of smaller icons. These are meant for a dock. If you have a dock, you can change the icons on that to this, but I mean, you can use it for whatever you want. You want a program, you think this looks good for a program, you go right ahead and you change the icon for it. Templates. If you want to make your own, here's just, you know, you got a little background image for you, and then you can paint on top of it to make your own icons with the appropriate programs that we'll get into more a little bit later on. Now there are a couple other programs in here for you to play around with if you want. There's Replace Tool. So an example of a way to use this Replace Tool is, for example, here, my readme file. If we hit Info, you'll see that it's pointing to the program ppmore, which is just a utility to open up ASCII files directly on top of the Workbench so you can read them there. See, as you see, you know, it's right on top of Workbench there. Say we want to open it up with a ProWrite. We hit Replace Tool, Shift click the program, and the one we want to change it to. So we want to change it to a ProWrite document. And hit that, and hopefully when we go back to icons here and we click our readme file, it should open ProWrite, I believe. Is opening ProWrite. And there you go. Open it up. Change the icon to now open up with ProWrite instead of ppmore. So we can edit it here if we like. So that's what you can do with the Replace tool. I'll go ahead and change that back now. You know, normally you'd have to, you know, type in a program if you wanted to change it. But with Replace Tool, you can just, you know, click that, click on the thing, and then click on the other thing you want to replace it with. I mean, that is, you know, especially if you had a whole slew of documents, that might be a nice thing to use. So that is a program available to use. I don't really use that all that much, but it's here for you if you have a need of it. Finally, in our Icons tool programs, we have Float Icon. This is not one I've ever used, but the concept behind it is, again, you click on that and you shift click anything that you want to be floated, and then you double click and it will float them. And what that means is, say we wanted to rearrange this all. And again, Workbench 1.3 is awful when it comes to managing your drawers and files. This is every single one of these placements has been done manually by myself. What Float Icon will do is tell Workbench that it's all new. So it needs to organize it itself. So you will unclick it. When you load it back up, you know, Workbench will have rearranged everything, you know, attempted to place them as best it can. So if things really get out of shape and you want Workbench to rearrange everything for you, because there's no tool to do that in Workbench 1.3. The only way you can do that is if you copy everything to a brand new location or folder. That's the only way it'll do it. So Float Icon will allow you to do that. Again, I have everything the way I want it, so I'm not messing with that. But that's something you could use if you need to. So now you're like me, and you've replaced all of your folders with the ones you want. Inside of them, you replaced all of the icons with the ones you want. Now, you're really liking the way everything looks here. So you want this to be your permanent thing. The problem is if we reset the machine, you know, it's going to go back to normal. Upon restarting Workbench, you are once again greeted with old blue. But again, so you would have to, you know, click on the icon every single time if this is what you wanted. Now you could do that, but we can make that a normal thing to happen by simply going to a word processor of your choice. Always Excellence over here. And here inside Excellence, we're going to open up our startup sequence located in the S directory of Workbench. Change the pattern to a question mark there. Startup sequence, load that up. Now somewhere prior to the end of the document, before our Workbench loads, we're going to enter the path of our Magic Workbench icon. Again, I've placed it directly in Workbench as well. Here's Magic Workbench right there. It's just a simple way to get at it. There's reasons for that, which we'll get into later. But again, we can point it to this one if we want, and just for simplicity's sake, that's what we are going to do. It's in the icons folder, Magic Workbench. So we will say dh0 icons / Magic Workbench. That's all you have to do. So save the startup sequence and restart your computer. Now there is a slight problem if we do it in this manner. Is again that once we start Workbench, originally it's going to show up in the blue until it gets to that point in the startup sequence. And when that happens, it's going to quickly change into the gray look. As you can see there, it got to that point in the startup sequence and changed its look. But we don't want it. We want it to be gray forever at this point. So all you have to do to make sure it stays gray is enter your preferences, go to preferences, and just hit save, because it's, again, that program has changed your first 4 colors, and then it changes and it adds your bitplanes to get those extra colors, but you can only save the first 4 colors. So just hit save, and then we will restart, and it should be fine. And here it instantly goes into that gray look. Technically it's only at 4 colors right now, and still it's waiting until we get to that last part of the startup sequence where it will then add 4 extra colors. And there we go. This look is now permanent for us. Now we're not quite done with the word processors quite yet. So if we use this tool, ReplaceImage, to simply replace the RAM disk, it's not going to do anything. We want that hammer for the RAM disk. Well, we can go like that, say okay, do it. But number one is you can't take the RAM disk out and then put the RAM disk in. It's not gonna change it. And if we reset the Amiga, it's gonna come back looking exactly like this instead of looking like this. So how do we change it? Well, we actually change it with that first. That's how we start. So we go to ReplaceImage, and whatever you want it to be, and you click on it, and you do click on the RAM disk, and you change it. That's the first step. But there are some other things we need to do. Again, go into a file manager like Disk Master here. We will go to RAM, and you will notice there is disk.info. Disk.info is the actual icon. This is the one that we've already replaced it with. Now I've made this RAM disk thing just for easy access. Now here is my normal one, Magic RAM. Again, it's what it looks like. But if we want to change it to this one here, this is just here so I know what it looks like. This actual title, Magic RAM, means nothing to us. What we'll do is we need disk.info. We will open up RAM disk, and inside of RAM disk is here, disk.info. It's that exact same one, disk.info. So if we wanted to actually change it to this one right here, all we would have to do is copy that over, and we've just changed it there. We need one other thing though. Open up a word processor of your choice, open up your startup sequence, and somewhere near the beginning of it all, here it is. So I put it fairly close to the beginning, but I think it needs to be somewhere near the beginning, not the exact beginning, but not near the end either. This is what I wrote. Copy dh0 icons / RAM disk, in the RAM disk, / disk.info space RAM : So what I'm telling it to do is while the system is booting up, to copy this disk.info over to here. This is before everything loads. This is before Workbench loads. Therefore, when Workbench loads, it will actually have, this icon there, right there. So we do that, and we restart our computer. Remember this right here. Copy dh0 icons / RAM disk / disk.info RAM : save it, and restart your computer. So Workbench is now loading up, and we should have that hammer now as our RAM disk once it does. Come on, let's go. And there we go. That's our new icon for the RAM disk. It's that multiple stage process there. Now if we want it back to our other one, which I do, we'll again go to RAM disk. Again, this is why I have this here. It's just, you know, for quick access in case I'm wanting to mess with it. But again, yes, we will go to IconTools, replace image, that one with this one. It's done, but we're not done yet. We will open up a disk master and we will copy over disk.info into the RAM disk, which the startup sequence is pointing to copy it back later. So anytime you want to change your RAM disk, remember, you gotta copy it, replace it, and then actually copy the disk.info into another folder in which your startup sequence is pointing to. Now you might find a couple images in this collection which don't seem to work with replace image. For example, in that RAM disk one. If we click this, we shift click that, and we go here, nothing happens. We go to there, nothing happens. Go there, nothing happens with this for some reason. That's something to do with whoever designed it originally. I don't know what the difference is there. You know, it's not going to say anything in here. It doesn't have a tool type. None of them have a tool type because they're just icons. But you know, some of them work, some of them don't. Most of them work. But if you come across one that doesn't, like this, and you really want this to be your RAM disk, copy it over to RAM. And we'll use this as an opportunity to show you another program that we have here, ImageEd. ImageEd is a paint program that happens to work with 8 color icons. It's not a great program for this, I will have to tell you, but it is the only program I found yet that actually works with 8 color icons inside of Workbench 1.3. So inside of RAM we have ramdisk.info. We open that up. Okay, it'll ask us if we want the get renderer or the select renderer. That's just prior to being clicked and after being clicked. So there's 2 images inside of every icon image. And now you're going to see the first major problem with ImageEd and why I don't like it, and I will be replacing it as soon as I find anything better. It doesn't use your Workbench palette. Now, no icon saves color information. It doesn't care what color it is. It just assigns it. Okay, this one is color number 1. This one is color number 2, and so on. It doesn't actually save which color it is. But ImageEd doesn't even allow us to say we want the Workbench palette. You know, keep the palette you had prior, like a deluxe paint would, or for example. It just automatically starts with its default palette, and I hate that. This is actually the only program on here which is not freeware. This one is shareware, and I will not be using it because I don't want it. I want something better, and I hope I will find that. Again, to load the second one, again, we have the first image. Go to Tools to, go to Alt Screen and swap to. It'll be blank. Now we go to Open again, and we will hit OK. Hit OK, and now we will hit the Select Renderer. And now we have both icons right there. Now, we don't need the colors right now. We will show you how to get Workbench colors, but for this instance, we don't need this. All we want to do is make it work with the Replace Image program. So in this instance, what we will do is, using ImageEd, we will say write data, go to 0, 0, and take it to the boundaries, which appears to be 4321. We will say icon. It doesn't matter which one it is. It just needs to be an icon type of some sort. We'll just say Workbench Project. And here we will name it select1.info. Hit OK. Let's go to the alternate screen, and we will write it again. Remember the actual coordinates. You will need the right coordinates. So mine was 43, 21. I think you want to be pretty precise about that for each different one. So 43, 21. There we go. Icon, project, select 2. Hit OK. And here we will have a bunch of different icons. Now this is where IconMerge comes in. Now this palette and IconMerge are both programs that come with Workbench. I've just included them here, you know, for easy access. So in this instance we will use IconMerge. We will tell it we want to merge the icons. Where are the icons located? RAM. We want select 1. We want RAM, select 2. We want to merge them into RAM disk. Done. Now if we go here, we should have, okay, again, yeah, there we go. We have both of them merged together where these two are the two separate ones. And now they are merged together. I'm actually going to go here. I'm going to delete this one because it didn't work for whatever reason. So we're going to discard that one. And this one that hopefully should now work, we are going to put in there. And we'll snapshot that in. And now hopefully we will be able to use this one with ReplaceImage. Can we? ReplaceImage? Yes, we can. So now if we want that one for our RAM disk, it will now work. Again, we will have to go to RAM disk and our icons RAM disk folder, and we will need to copy disk.info from the RAM disk over to the RAM disk icon folder, which the startup sequence is already pointing to. So now all we would have to do is restart our computer, and this icon should now be our RAM disk. Let's see. And here you go, we have switched the RAM disk. We've made that icon actually work. Now I really don't feel like going through every single last image in this collection and going through ImageEd to make sure that they all work. The vast majority of these things are going to work with ReplaceImage very simply with, you know, clicking on it, shift clicking, and then you know, clicking on the one you want replaced. But if you happen across a couple icons which do not work for whatever reason, then you can use ImageEd to make them work by splitting them up in ImageEd and then resaving them as icons, using IconMerge to put them back together, and then they will work for those few ones that for whatever reasons will not work with ReplaceImage. Now more with ImageEd. You will see that with our WBplane folder, this will be the last thing we cover, but for the purposes of ImageEd, I wanted to show you how you could create or modify existing images for yourself. Here, this is one I have done myself. So this is how it looks like before we select it, and then after we select it, it changes. So we're using I believe all 8 colors there. This is how it originally looked. So sub WBplane originally looked like this. It was 2 colors, white and black. And any icon that inverts itself when you do click it, that means there is no second state. It just has one state, and then it inverts itself automatically in the second state. So, but this one actually changes. So it has 2 different states to it. Now, I'm going to show you how we can do that with this one here, as an example, to use ImageEd to modify one of these. So, add WBplane, we're going to throw that over to the RAM disk for safe keeping. I just hate the way this whole thing is set up. The drives, if you go to drives, it shows everything that's assigned. So just go to RAM:, and here's add WBplane info. We'll click on that one. We'll hit OK. And there is no second renderer, so it didn't ask us, you know, if we wanted which one we wanted to load. So, but we will still load a second one. We'll go to swap to, and we will load it again. And we'll hit OK. Now, as you see, this is only a 4-color icon. It's technically only using 2. We'll go to special, and we'll go to depth, and we'll go to 3-bit planes, which will add 8 colors. But we want it to look like Workbench looks, don't we? So this is how we do that. It's horrible. I'm sorry in advance. This is the only way to do it. This is why I've included palette, actually. So gray. Gray is AAA. Go back to image add, go to palette, select your first color, and go to A, and A. Now the next ones I actually know by heart, I believe, so this one should be black. This one should be white, and then we hit OK. We can't actually switch out while it's on that one, so now we'll go to blue. Blue is 6-8B. So we go back, we go to palette, and we change it to 6-8B. I am so sorry. This is the only way to do it so far in Workbench 1.3. Next one is 999. Finally, we have FBA as the final one. So these are our palettes for the Workbench 8-color look. You can save this all you want. You can load it back. You can. It will save the colors for this. If we just go to save and we just save it normally, you know, it will save this. But if we go to open, we try to circumvent the system by opening a different image on top of this one, it will automatically go back to its default palette. It's awful. I do not recommend actually paying for this shareware. If you can even still pay for it, that's why I will. As soon as I can, I will be replacing this with something better. But yeah, that's what we got to do. That's why I've included palette in the icons folder, so you can compare the palette with image ed. And again, I apologize. I'm sorry, but that's how it's going to work for now. This time we're going to start with blue, I believe, for add. So we'll do blue and fill. F does the fill. Add, and then we'll change it WB there. And for plane, we'll have that one. I think that should be good. And now we will go to the alternate screen. And then we'll use blue again, but we'll change that to the WB for this part. Add. Let's put a gray in there for this part. That looks nice. And just like that, we have 2 different ones. That'll be the first one, so we'll write our data. Again, remember exactly where this was. So, to the start, all the way to about there, or yeah, right there. So, 102.18. Then we will save it as an icon, as a project. And again, we'll just put that to number 1. Go to your alternate screen, swap to that, and again, remember what it was last time. It was 102.18, I believe. 102.18. Icon, project. We'll change that to number 2. Hit OK. And there's lots of other things you can do in this if you want. You know, just play around with it, shrink them, make them bigger. You can even insert your own text. You can draw your own text. You can do whatever you want. This is how you can make or modify your own icons. We'll quit out of that. We should have some extra ones in here. Yes, we do. We have the number 1 and number 2, both in a different state. Here was the original. So again, using IconMerge, we will merge. We will go to RAM 1, RAM 2 for RAM. What was it called again? Just add WBplane. So RAM add WB plane, and it should be completed. There you go. These ones are not, they just go to that weird inverted stage. This one actually changes it, so it's 2-stage. And now, using IconTools, we will go to WBplane, and we will replace Add Workbench Plane with this one. So replace image, shift, and that one. Okay. So when we go to WBplane now, there we go. We have 2 separate ones. The Add Workbench one, we have the Subtract Workbench one. Modified ourselves to look better. A 4-color icon, technically only 2 colors. We added a bunch of colors to it to make it look better with the original design. So if you want to play with the original designs to make them look better in the 8-color setup, that's how you can do it. I know Image Ed, it doesn't make it easy for you because you got to change the palettes. My profound apologies. That's the first thing I could find which would allow me to do that. I found things for Deluxe Paint, which would allow me to convert the icon files into a Deluxe Paint IFF, but they would only do it in 4 colors. I found something that claimed to do it for P-Paint. I installed it the way it told me to. It doesn't work. Image Ed is the only one that I found so far that will allow you to edit 8-color icons inside of Workbench 1.3. So I'm still looking, but it gets the job done. It's the You're Not Stupid guide. You can all do this. I've shown you how you can do it, and you can do it yourself. It's not easy. I'm sorry, but it can be done. Another example of one I modified myself was Excellence. Again, this one was made for a 4-color look, and I added a bit to it to make it look better in this arrangement. I also did ATalk 3. I just added the text to it. So ATalk, and then when you click on it, it says 3. I'm going to be doing this a lot more. As tedious as Image Ed is to use, I will be making it more my own, because I've given you all these wonderful icons, but now I gotta stand out from you guys now, so I got to modify them myself from here on to make them more me. So the final program to show you is WBplane. Now I use this one as a general save memory kind of a thing. The more chip memory you have, the faster everything runs. So, example, if I'm using Amiga Explorer here to transfer files from my PC to my Amiga, I will hit sub WBplane. Once, puts it into 4-color, 2-bit planes mode. Hit it again, it's now in 1-bit plane, a mono color, 2 colors there. And then I will run Amiga Explorer and copy over my files, because it runs better, and there's less of a chance of it hanging up on you. The less that's actually going on. So, but then after it's done, you go to Add WBplane, and you will hit it twice, and then you will go to Redraw, and it will redraw it again. So, hit it once, that's just the 4 colors. Hit it again, that's 1 color or 2 colors. Hit it one more time, that will be 4 colors. Hit it again, that will be 8 colors. And you can even hit it one more time after that, and it's actually now 16 colors. The only way for you to know that is if we go to Palette, and you will now see. And actually, I like a lot of these. Like the final 8 colors that it adds for 16 colors. I don't know about these two, but these ones onward, oh, I like them. I like these ones. Unfortunately, Workbench 1.3, at least without an accelerator card, becomes extraordinarily unstable with 16 colors. It's gonna guru with this. With 8 colors, it will run, just fine. I've been running it like this for 10 years with 8 colors. I'm telling you, it's perfectly stable for the most part. Again, I use this as a memory saver, but you might not want to use that. Again, you can replace MagicWB, the program that adds 8 colors when you're starting Workbench and switches it to the Magic Workbench look. You can, substitute this for that. So if you actually wanted to stay in the blue Workbench, you can use this, and I will show you an example. So back in old blue here, we can use WBplane here to add an extra Workbench plane. Again, we will prove this by going to Palette, and you will even see some of my icons have changed. They look a little different because they are now in 8 colors. We can hit it again to get 16 colors. Again, the final 8 colors, I think they're the exact same as the other one actually. Final 8 colors, beautiful. The extra 4 colors originally, I'm not so fond of them myself, because it's a ugly EGA aqua there, bad purple, a repeat of white. I guess that blue isn't so bad, but again, yeah, it's 3 out of 4 colors absolutely useless if you add extra 4 colors to the original Workbench style. I mean, I'm sure some people can do something with it. It becomes much more useful if you go to 16 colors, but your standard Amiga without an accelerator card. Especially, I think it's Workbench 1.3, not even the accelerator card. I think Workbench 1.3 just goes crazy eventually. You will guru without a doubt. So many more nice colors though this way, but yeah, you can substitute this if you want to make your own 8 color icons for Workbench, the original blue look. Then forget Magic Workbench. Go to a word processor, and instead of inserting this into your Workbench setup, you insert this, or you can insert it twice in your Workbench setup. We will show you an example. So before Workbench loads, you will just hit DH0 icons slash WBplane add WBplane, and save that, and it will add 8 colors. If you want 16 colors, you just duplicate this line, copy and paste it again. So we'll save that, and we will restart the computer. So Workbench should have just loaded 8 colors. I can already tell based on all the purples that are going on here that it did load an 8 color setup. We will confirm that by going to a palette here. And again, so yes, if you want your original blue look and you want 8 colors, you want an extra 4 colors added upon that, you have no help. So you're gonna have to do all the icons yourself, create them all yourself, or modify them all yourself, and you're not working with the greatest palette ever. So yes, you can change these 8 colors to whatever you want. But it doesn't really matter because it's all going to change. You can't save. You cannot save the extra 4 colors. You can only save the first 4 colors. So yeah, you can mess with them, but there's no point to it unless you're good at programming and you can modify this thing to change the default colors. So I mean, that's what you got. So you can add an extra 4 colors to your original blue look if you like the blue look, but you're going to have to heavily modify everything yourself to get the icons to look good in that setup. So, but that's an option for you. Again, I just use it as a memory saver and to get back to my original look after that. I also want to show you just why I have this icon in my root directory. There are a few programs which will reset your colors back down to 4. The one that comes to mind is Deluxe Paint. So we're here in Deluxe Paint, and if we get out of it, what is going to happen is we're going to come back to Workbench in 4 colors. So then we can double click that and it will just reset itself. This is very uncommon. The only one that comes to my mind is Deluxe Paint, but I think there's maybe one other one that I've come across which will reset. But that is why I have it right there in the root directory, just in case a program resets itself. Now if you actually double click this while you're already in the 8 color setup, it's going to guru. I actually sometimes use this as a lazy way to reset the computer because I don't want to reach over to the keyboard. But yeah, that will guru, as you see there. Of course, this package is not just for Workbench 1.3 users, it's just simply more impressive when you're on 1.3. Again, all we have to do is double click Magic Workbench and hit to redraw all, and there you go. Okay, now to make this permanent, there are a couple options you can use. Now you can see that Real Palette here is, again, but if we actually use the built-in palette tool of Workbench to save this look, by going to Preferences here and hitting Palette, what you see is it actually goes to the default of, however it would do once it adds 8 colors to everything. So it doesn't actually save the Magic Workbench look. So we've gone all purple now, as you see there. So what we could do is manually input it, and that's probably the easiest way, is to actually go to Screen Mode, change your colors to 8 and save that. Next go to Palette, and then after the original 4 colors you will insert the colors manually. So 5 is 9, 9, 9. 6 is 11, 11, 11. 7 is 11, 10, 9. And 8 is 15, 11, 10. And then save there. Now once you reset the computer, you are all set. Now alternatively, you could also go, just like in Workbench 1.3, go into Excellence or a word processor and insert the Magic Workbench label into the startup sequence. I would recommend changing them manually with the colors I told you and saving it there. Or there's many options. You can of course install Magic Workbench on Workbench 2.01 and above, so you can have the real thing if you want. So here's my actual Workbench 2 setup. I still need to work on some of this. I slowly pick at it because I don't spend much time here, but this is how good it can look. Once you start messing, obviously I need to mess with it some more. Yes, it can definitely look good in this setup as well. It'd probably be best to rearrange my icons slightly if you have a Workbench 2. Again, it's meant for the non-bezeled look in a Workbench 1.3, but the programs themselves, everything should work perfectly the same, regardless of if you're in Workbench 1.3 or 2.0. Track WBplane, add WBplane. That worked. Everything will work perfectly fine. The only difference is you will not need image ed at all because Workbench 2 actually comes with decent icon editing. You can just use what comes with Workbench 2. So there you go. Nice looking medium resolution 640 by 200 in NTSC, 640 by 256 in PAL. These icons are meant to look good like that, regardless of if you have Workbench 1.3 or 2 and above. There's something here for you if that's the resolution you like. So I hope you all have fun pimping out Workbench 1.3 or 2.01. Anything with medium resolution, this stuff will look fine on. It's always my goal to highlight just all the things you can do with 1.3 because there is so many things. You'd be surprised at how many power user level stuff you can do on 1.3, and that's my goal here. But you can have fun with it any way you like. I hope you all enjoyed this guide video. Check out some other You're Not Stupid guides like my NTSC PAL switch guide, or my installing a GVP hard drive onto your Amiga. And don't forget, I normally do deep reviews of games here with lots of stuff in them, so check out my last video on Sword of Sodan, and subscribe if you like any of this stuff. See you later. Bye.